بالأمي وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. The Sheikh is starting by asking Allah Azza wa Jalla to accept from us, and he's making general dua for all of us. So say Ameen. Ameen. We're still continuing talking about the interpretation of Surah Al-Baqarah, and last time we stopped where Allah Azza wa Jalla said, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, and who is more evil than the one who stopped the houses of Allah that Allah's name will be mentioned, and he went into destroying it and destructing it. These people cannot enter it except they are fearful and terrorized. They have humility in this life, and they have a great punishment in the hereafter, and to Allah is the east and west. So wherever you go, it is Allah's face you need to see. Allah is wide and knowledgeable. Who is more transgressed, who is more evil than the one who stopped the mention of Allah Azza wa Jalla's name to be mentioned in the masajid, and who stopped the establishment of the prayers or the recitation of the Quran, and he destroyed it or closed it, or to stop the believers. These indeed are the transgressors. They cannot enter except fearful. But Allah Azza wa Jalla saying that that's their punishment, and they will not enter these places unless they are fearful. And it is also to order to the Muslims not to allow those corrupted people to enter the houses of Allah, those who stop the people who mention Allah's name to mention His name and to establish the prayers. That transgressions is to put the thing in a different place than it's supposed. It is the human nature that Allah Azza wa Jalla, that the human being, he took the trust, and he is an aggressor and ignorant. It is the character that is not liked, and the great sin that wipe the good deeds and bring the destruction and the destruction. Indeed, the transgression, it is painful. At the day of judgment, we're going to go and we're going to stand in front of Allah. You who are aggressor, you'll know what's going to happen to you in front of Allah. Who is going to be blamed? So you're going to die, and they are all going to die. And at the day of judgment, you're going to stand in front of your Lord, and you're going to dispute your matters. Don't think that Allah is unaware what the transgressors are doing. He is delaying to a day that the eyes are hazed, and they are lowering their gaze, lowering their sight, lowering their heads, and their hearts are empty, fearful. So don't do any evil to anyone, because you can sleep, and the person that you transgress on, he is making dua against you, and Allah's eyes do not sleep. Shaykh al-Mawardi, he said that what stop the transgression, either what bring what stop person from being transgressors is the law. I mean, your mind, your sanity, your brain, the law, the strong leader that you fear from, or you're unable to do it. So one of those that will not stop you from transgression against anyone. And it's different degrees, different types. And you could summarize them into 3 parts. The transgression of the person to himself, when he worship someone else beside Allah or have partners with Allah, and this is the greatest sin, transgression, the worst And when Luqman told his son, "Oh my son, do not have shirk with Allah," the shirk is a great dhulm, the great transgression. When Allah said, "Those who believe and they do not mix their faith with transgression, these are the ones who have safety and they are guided." It was very hard on the companions of the Prophet ﷺ when they heard this, because who among us who did not do wrong to himself, who did not have a sin? They all thought they were going to be destroyed. So they told that to the Prophet ﷺ, who explained to them, and he showed them. After they thought that, he said, "No, it is not like what you think. It is the shirk, what is the transgression. Don't you know what Luqman said to his son? Oh my son, do not commit shirk, partnership with Allah. It is a great transgression." The other type is when a person transgress among himself by sinning against Allah, disobeying Allah Azza wa Jal. From the relationship of the person and his relationship between a servant, the slave, and his servant Allah Azza and Allah the Almighty. Allah, if He wish, He will forgive him or He will punish him. And the third type is the transgression of the humans to each other. This is the one that Allah Azza wa Jal will not leave anything at the Day of Judgment. There's three faults Allah will not forgive ever, which is shirk, partnership with Allah. Allah do not accept, do not forgive partnership with Him, and He forgive anything beyond that. And another one Allah will not leave ever, which is the rights of people between them. It is justice. And the third one Allah do not care about, from fasting you forgot or prayer you didn't do. It is up to Allah. He might punish you or He will forgive you. Maymun ibn Haran said in the second one, when a person transgress about the other humans, that a person will read the Quran and he is cussing themselves. And they said, how could he do that? He said, he write, may Allah have the curse, His curse on the transgressors. And he is the person who is a transgressor by himself. So he is making the Quran, he is making curse on himself by reciting the Quran when he read that verse. Allah Azza wa Jal do not benefit from your obedience, and your sin will not do any harm to Him. Allah Azza wa Jal says, you're not going to benefit me, and you cannot harm me. And Allah started by saying that I have forbidden transgression on myself, and I made it forbidden between yourself. So do not do transgression to each other. Oh my servant, if you first, all of you, on the in the heart of the biased person, that will not increase anything in my on what I own. And if you're first and last on the worst heart of any of you, that will not decrease anything of my kingdom. Oh my servant, if you're first and you're last, and you're generous, and they ask me, and I give them each one what they ask for, it will not decrease nothing from my, just like the needle, if you just put it in an ocean, it's not gonna take nothing. It is indeed your deeds. If you find goodness, thank Allah, and if you find something beyond that, do not blame nothing but yourself. Astaghfirullah. Sufyan al-Thawri, he used to say, if you find Allah, if you meet Allah with 70 sins, something between you and Him, it is easier on you to meet Him with one transgression on someone else of the because Allah's rights are built on forgiveness and tolerance, but the rights of the people are on taking the right. No human being will be taken, either will forgiven or you give him his right. So if you can't give in this life, you're going to pay at the Day of Judgment, the only currency is the good deeds and the bad deeds. May Allah inshallah protect us. Ameen, Allahumma ameen. And who is more transgressor than a person who stopped the houses of Allah, that his name is mentioned? So who is Allah is pointing at in here? Indeed, they are the Christians, because what came before it, these are the ones who stopped the Jews from to mention Allah's name in Jerusalem. And this is the time of Musa alayhi salam, before the Torah. The Jews were, and the Christians at the time of Isa alayhi salam, they were believers, and they stayed on the covenant of Allah. These are believers, and they're saved. And we say Surah Al-Buruj, it became on the Christian martyrs until the last message came in, and Allah with it, if superseded any other religion beside that. Since Allah Azza wa Jal said Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah does not accept from people except Islam, and whomever asks something else beside Islam, it will not be accepted from him, and he is among the losers at the Day of Judgment. And it was said, meant that the infidels of Mecca, those who prevented the Prophet ﷺ and his companions from mentioning Allah's name in the Kaaba, they are the one who stopped you from the Masjid al-Haram. And one of the animals, they were supposed to be slaughtered in its place. And it was for believers. You do not know. So Allah will enter from His mercy whomever He wish. Allah says, and why Allah do not punish them when they are stopping people from the Masjid al-Haram, and they are not the allies of Allah. The allies of Allah are the ones who fear Him, the ones who are pious. May Allah guide us among those He guided. And the houses of Allah, who is more transgressor than the one who stopped people from entering the houses of Allah? When Allah add anything to His name, it is an honor and specification. So when Allah Azza wa Jal refer those houses of Allah to Himself, that's a great honor. Al-Ma'ib Salih, he said, be in this life as guests. Take the house of Allah as houses, and teach your hearts the humility and increase in the crying. The servant, he get to status with the way he takes the orders of Allah in his heart. And whomever has so the person will get a special status to Allah Azza wa Jal when he glorifies the orders of Allah and the houses of Allah, and the masjid is the houses of Allah. And Awza'i, one of the scholars, he used to say 5 things that the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and those who followed them, they had those character, which is to continue on the obedience of Allah and to follow the Sunnah and to reciting of the Quran and to stay in the masjid and to have jihad in the sake of Allah. This is the character that made the companions special. They are always obedient to Allah. They follow the Sunnah. They fill the masjid. They recite the Quran and they fight in the sake of Allah. Al-Hasan ibn Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, he said 3 in the sake of Allah. A man who entered the masjid, he do not enter it except for the sake of Allah. He is the guest of Allah Azza wa Jal until he comes back. And a man, he visited his brother Muslim, he do not visit him except for Allah. He is from the visitors of Allah until he comes back from his place. And a man, he went to perform Hajj or make Umrah, he did not go except for the sake of Allah. He is among the special guest of Allah until he goes back to his people. The castle of a masjid, three: the masjid and the remembrance of Allah and the recitation of the Quran. The protection, the palaces or the castle for the Muslim are three things: the masjid, the recitation of the Quran, and being in the masjid. So if the person is not one of those three, he is in the castle with the shaitan, or the shaitan is in his castle. One of the things that Allah Azza wa Jal ordered Yahya alayhi salam to order the sons of Israel to follow and to obey with him is when he ordered them to remembrance of Allah. He said, this is the example of a man that the enemy went after him, Russian. When he came to a very good castle, then he protected himself. And this is how the servant, he cannot protect from the shaitan except by the remembrance of Allah. From the beautiful things of Al-Hasan al-Basri also, the dowry of the hur to wipe or to wipe the masjid from dust and to stay in it, stay in the masjid. You know, the woman, he used to clean the masjid. She had like a small corner that she entered. When the Prophet ﷺ, when he entered the masjid, you find like a small house built inside the masjid, like a small, which is a place for a woman. She used to stay in that day and night and clean the masjid all the time and to purify it. And the Prophet ﷺ, Mr. one night, when he asked about her, they said she died at night. He said, don't you wake me up and ask me? He wanted to pray on her before she is in her grave. They said, oh Prophet, she died at night and we hated to wake you up. He said, show me her grave. So he went and he prayed on her grave as janazah. And then he said, these graves are filled of darkness on its people, and Allah Azza wa Jal will enlighten it with my prayers on them. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Salah Al Sawy. The secrecy of the masjid onto 15 characters. Be careful with it when we are talking about the importance of the masjid and its holiness in the heart of the Muslims. The first one, that you pray 2 rak'ah before you sit down. Even if you are in the time of forbidden. What is forbidden? The absolute nafil, the one that has a reason, it's no problem to pray it at any time. If you went to Al-Kaaba after Asr and you made the tawaf, you pray 2 rak'ahs. Even though there is forbidden from the Prophet ﷺ, because there is a reason. The reason that you are making the tawaf, because the Prophet ﷺ said, do not stop someone made a tawaf and any time or day or night to pray. The masjid should be stopped from buying and selling. You are ordered, you do not to say, may Allah not give you blessing of your commerce. So people know that this is not a place of market where people could do their deals. It was built for remembrance of Allah and the recitation of the Quran, and not to be asked about something that is missing. Someone missed his credit card, phone, key, take the phone, oh I lost this. So we'll tell him, may Allah not return it back to you. The Prophet ﷺ said, whomever is asking for something he's missing, tell him, may Allah never find that, because this is not a place. But the exception is the kid. If you lost your son But the what is forbidden there is the money. It's something for this life. But your son, if you lost your son, your daughter, your father, your mother, you looked for him, and no, you can make this announcement. This is something different. This is the exception, because the exhalation of the soul that is protected is not from asking the lost thing. And you should not raise your voice except the mention of Allah. How many times we have mentioned that? We leave from the prayer. The noises are very loud in the back, and we still have questions. The talk is very important in the last row. How about not about the person who's speaking? This is the for the etiquette in the house of Allah. If you want to talk loudly, go out of the masjid, then it is open for you. Omar, he built something next to the masjid. He put like a multi-purpose building. Whomever want to go, whomever have something, go to that place and say whatever he wants. It can be organized. The social is fine, but outside, inshallah. But inside the masjid, no. In particular, there is this small, and you're going to distract people who are making sujood and prayers. Umar al-Khattab, one time he saw two people, they raised their voices, so he asked after them, and they were scared. He said, "Where are you from?" They said, "From At-Taif." He said, "If I knew that you are from the people of Al-Madinah, I will make you painful and beating you. You raise your voice in the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ." So he forgave the guest. And not to go over people's heads. Let's try when enter the masjid, before this prayer is established, to get closer and to fill the first rows and then the first rows. So those who come in later, do not go because he found the space in the first row and you want to get it. So always fill all the spaces in front of you. One time the Prophet ﷺ came in a place, so the companions, they went dispersed. He said, "This disperse, it is from the shaitan." So he asked them to come to a group and to stay on their food, so to be blessed, and not to go in front of the person who is praying. It is part of the masjid, the prayers, and the person who's praying. And if you know what you have is due to, you will wish you could stood 40 than to pass in front of him. But his space is as far as his sujood. So anything beyond his sujood is not for him. You could walk in front of it. So someone did not take a sutra, he's not gonna take it all the way to the end of the. You just give him the space, the amount that he could prostrate. A person who makes sutra, you need to make a sutra so people will know, and do not make it hard on his brothers in the masjid. The other point, the spitting. Alhamdulillah, in our masjid now it's full of carpet. In the old time, people who never want to spit, they could spit anywhere because it used to be sand. But it is forbidden. If someone said, "Don't spit toward the Qibla," this is very tough. Allah put his face toward the face of his servant, unless he did not turn right or left. If there's a child that is distracting people, you either have to hold him or we give him to a babysitting outside. We do not prevent people to come to the masjid, but we need to control them. And the rest of the mothers to stay in the congregation. And this is the problem that need to be solved, because we have no other place beside the masjid. And this is a part of the things that are forbidden. Who is worse than who did not stop people from mention Allah Azza wa Jal? One of the believer companions, he said, the hypocrite in the masjid, just like the bird in the who is in prison. As soon as the prayer is done, he leaves. The servant is in a prayer as long he is in his place. The angels are asking Allah's forgiveness as long he did avoid his wudu, asking Allah to have mercy on him and to forgive him. Why you're rushing to go outside? It is hot and there's air conditioning inside the masjid. Anyway, Ameen. The best places of Allah is the masajid, and the worst places is the markets. Whomever purified himself in his house and walked to one of the houses of Allah to do an obligation to Allah Azza wa Jal, his steps, one will take the sin and one will give him a reward. Whomever go to the masjid or came back, Allah will prepare for him a place in Jannah every time he goes or come back. And all of us know the young man that Allah shaded him because he stayed in worshiping Allah and obedient to Allah, and the person whose heart is attached to the masajid. Shall I tell you what Allah wipes the sins and raise the degrees, to perfect the wudu on the things that are forbidden, and to make among of steps to the masjid, and to wait from the masjid to from the prayer in the masjid? This is the ribat. So also to prevent the bad smell like onions, garlic, smoke, cigarettes. So whenever you come to the masjid, come in the best dress, the best cologne, because the angels, they get hurt from the things that make people hurt, from the smell that is not good. Ameen. 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 Someone said outside we are putting advertisement for other. This is the masjid. This is the place of the prayers. But these are accompanying the masjid, and in it there is more opening. There is bathrooms. It's not in the same rule like inside the masjid. The prayer room. This is the rules that we have talked about. And all the other places, the maktab, the offices and all of this, this is a great time for it. And to Allah is the east and west. And wherever you go, seek Allah's face. As if Allah Azza wa Jal has given the Prophet ﷺ and the companions who left Mecca and they were taken out of the house of Allah and their houses, except to say La ilaha illallah. And they resided in Medina. Allah is telling them to entertain their hearts and to condole their souls. And Allah is east and west. So wherever you go, wherever you seek Allah's face. What does it mean wherever you go, you seek Allah's face? Wherever you take that direction, seek Allah. There is a destination which is Allah. Where is this from? Allah saying, wherever you go, take toward the Masjid al-Haram. And wherever you go, take it. He said this is the first thing that was taken from the Quran. So this came first, wherever you go, seek Allah's face, but then Allah Azza wa Jal came the order to decide that this Qibla, this destination is toward the Masjid al-Haram. Also, there is also another explanation that it is a talk for those who did not know the destination of the Qibla. A person who did his best, it does not exist in this time. We have the iPhone, and we have the campus and east and north, you know the Qibla easily. But if you're in a desert and you don't know how to find the east and west, and you took your best effort and it came the Qibla behind, so what? That's when you see Allah, and to Allah is east and west. So wherever you go, take Allah's face. And this is for those who were confused and not know the direction of the Qibla. Another explanation says it is an indication about the direction of the extra prayers during traveling, or when you are praying the fear when people are fighting. There's a military plan to establish the prayers when the swords are at meet. So establish the prayers. Allah said, let some of you pray and let some be behind you with their weapons. Those who did not pray, let them pray and let them take their weapons and take their, because the disbeliever, when they wish that you could forget your weapons so they could come and kill you all at once. So you don't need to face the Qibla during that. The Imam will pray and he brings the rak'ah and he stays up. Behind them, they come, they do the second rak'ah and they say salam and they go with they'll get out, and then the second people will come in and pray the second rak'ah with the Prophet ﷺ, and then they continue their one. So some will pray with the Prophet ﷺ and another will guard. Those who guarded, they will go on the second rak'ah, and the one who were in the first rak'ah, they finish the second rak'ah while he alayhi salatu is still standing, and they will get out to so the other group will come in and they will guard the Muslims. This way the guarding is always there, and you don't have to face the Qibla. This is one of the time of the exception that Allah Azza wa Jal discussed it. And this is where you say Allah Azza wa Jal to east and west, and wherever you go, which direction is the sake of Allah. Also, whenever you're doing the nafila during the traveling, or when you are incapable, like today at Fajr, we were talking about a taxi cab who said, I am in Michigan, Chicago area, and there is ice everywhere. It is very cold. If I go out, out of the car, it will be deadly. I could pray inside the car. What do? We tell him, try. You find gas station, place, rest area. Maybe you could pray inside and face the Qibla. He said, I can't. I tried, I couldn't. Then you pray inside the. Maybe take the car toward the Qibla. Because what you can't get it all, don't leave it all. And don't say, if I can't, take Dhuhr and Asr until you come back and take him at that. No. To keep the prayers, it is more important than the formation of the prayer. If you say, I can't pray standing, maybe when I go home, I'll pray it. No. To pray, it is accepted if you go to reach before the time of the prayers is gone. 6, 7, if you go 9, that means the Asr is gone. And whomever intentionally left Al-Asr, he have lost his deeds. So it is important to keep the prayer on time than to perform it in a certain way. Someone came and licked him all over. So now he's outside. He don't have another pants, and he cannot go and buy one. Wait to go home. If he goes home, it will be out of the time. Then he pray in his place with that clothes. To leave the najasa is obligatory with the remembering and capable of removing it. But if you forgot or unable, I knew my clothes are not, but I mean, I can't do nothing. I will lose the time. I'm away from home, and by the time I reach home, the time of the prayer is gone. Then you pray on the form that you are in. So you can to perform the prayer on its time. To Allah, east and west, wherever you go, is the face of Allah. The face of Allah here, and this ayah in particular, they said meaning the direction. Oh, you are confused, don't know the direction of the Qibla. Wherever you took that direction, that will be the direction. Allah will accept it from you after you tried your best. And the others said no, meaning the face, the description of Allah in a way that is fit His holiness. And they said every ayah that has the face of Allah, meaning that the description of Allah with no how. It is proof without putting an example for it. It's something that fit Allah because there is nothing like Him, and He is the one who sees and hears. What about Allah saying everybody is leaving and the face of your Lord stays, meaning His oneness that is attached to the face. If you say which is the face of Allah that He described Himself, that fit His holiness. In the combination of the ayah, meaning Allah Azza wa Jal Himself, He will be there. Ask Allah Azza wa Jal to accept. Inshallah, we'll continue. Inshallah, Thursday. Amen.